Hey, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on when you're reading this or seeing this webinar. I'm excited to talk about technology and how realistically incident management software can help you run a program from basically the ground up. And doesn't have to be just only during an actual disaster. You can actually use software like we're going to talk about for running your entire program, all the way from developing plans and whatnot. I first met Tim many years ago, and looked at DLand back when it was first kind of getting off the ground, and it's really developed into a wonderful program. I got to play with it over the last week and really kick those tires. And the nice part about it was I was able to get back there, play with it, and not have to worry about breaking it like I've done on other things. So I am excited to talk about this, and really I'd like to hear more about how this program works. And so I have Tim here with us today. And Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Todd. Very excited to meet with you guys today and share some of the stuff that we have here and go through a little bit of our company and who we are and what makes us a little bit different, and then give you a little tour of the product.
So, well, let's get into it. I mean, let's not waste any time here because you have a nice presentation to go into, and then we can discuss the nuances later.
Sure. So a little bit about BCG, because Disasterland is just one of many products that the company makes. We're based out of Buffalo, New York. We've got a great engineering team that does a lot in maritime and Navy and Coast Guard. And then we do quite a bit in the federal and government space with regards to incident management. So you'll see a different flavor with a lot of the stuff we do. We spend a lot of time learning about the workflows that are kind of intrinsic to what makes up our emergency response, whether that's planning for emergencies or responding to emergencies. And all of our staff are trained in ICS and are required to take part in activations because we feel like they should know the space that they're in and understand what it means both to be an emergency manager and see the pressures of what's going on and figure out how to make software improve the situation so that they can make decisions more quickly, more accurately, and have more information at their fingertips to share. Because one of the things that comes out of every after action is communication. DLand provides one tool in their arsenal. When they start looking at phones and computers and everything else, we provide a backbone for a lot of the information that they use. We've got solutions all over the globe, from large to small. We've got things that are designed for small communities to stand up boards for their mayors and teams and the groups that are coming in to help them manage an emergency, all the way up through Fortune 500 companies that have locations all over North America or different parts of the globe, where they really need to understand the geography of what's going on and be able to see how weather's impacting their various sites, and really be able to more globally understand exactly how an incident impacts them. So it's a very scalable solution. It's designed to work from whatever device that you're on. It's designed to pull information pre-event, during an event, post-event, to really help you make your decisions. We kind of look at ourselves as kind of the glue, the hub that allows you to pull the best out of whatever else you're using. We certainly have a lot of tools for helping people build documentation or share various types of communication. But ultimately, people have been doing this for a long time, and a lot of people have tools that they like and they love, but they don't always have that all-in-one cohesive platform. So we provide a lot of integrations and links to let them take advantage of things that they might be using in a SharePoint or a Teams, or maybe something that they've built an internal product for damage assessment. Let them fuse everything together into one hub so that people can go to one place in order to manage their emergencies. And it really is something that we pride ourselves on, is working with the tools and the people and the processes that they have internally to help them build out their incident management response. A couple things that really I'd like to highlight that really make us different. I already mentioned our ICS trained staff. That goes beyond more than just improving the product and giving people a look-see into how everything is done with emergency management. We also extend that staff out to deployment teams, people that need to be able to take advantage of staff in the field that know ICS, that know logistics, that know operations, that know anything else that might be involved in that incident process. So it's more than just the software. We have partners that go out for FEMA deployments. We have partners that go out for activations for things like the Super Bowl. They embed themselves with the teams to help with planning, to help with operations. Sometimes there's staff augmentation. Sometimes they're entire replacements of teams that are out in the field. So it's something different that we offer that not everyone in this space does. They normally come with a package that's software and say, this is what you get. And, for us, we really want to help them, solve the problem. And that might be with software, that might be with workflows, that might be actually with physical people that are there deployed with them. Another thing that we do that's very different is our approach to how we develop things for people. So our view is that we're all really in this together. So if we work with a customer, maybe in Canada, who helps us pay to build something, maybe let's say like a sheltering platform or something like that. Our view is that that's something that should be a benefit to the entire community. So we take the best of what we develop for other customers and work to make that available to everybody else. For those that already have ongoing licenses and support programs with us, we bring those new tools to them. Really at no additional charge in many cases. So our goal is to really share what we're developing with our customer base, so that it's not being paid for by lots of different people all to solve the same solution. Somebody's already come up with the best way to do something. We might as well utilize that with everybody else. And then obviously the team behind it, I feel is more important than the software. Whether you're looking at the top incident management company out there, or the top sheltering company, or any of that stuff, we've all got tools in our packages that are better than one another that we could point to and say, that's why you should buy our software. But my opinion on it is it's not really the software that makes it, it's the team that makes it. I've got a number of team members that have 15, 20, 25 years of experience in the emergency management field, helping people to solve problems. And that's the team that comes with you when you're looking at a platform like this, to really help you expand your capabilities, make sure it right sizes and fits what you need, and then ultimately helps you guys solve the problems that you need to solve. So we're there to help grow with you. We're there to help be a partner with you, and that's really what makes us different. Before I jump into the software part of it, any questions about any of that stuff?
No, I do want to make one point. The thing with the ICS trained staff, I think that's critical, because to know what the needs are of the end user, you really have to understand what they're going through, and I do appreciate that part of what you guys do as a company.
I think it's a really important part. I mean, if you put a piece of software in and it can't conform to what you do, all of a sudden you're going to have the same after action report that everybody does. We didn't use it. We didn't log into it. We didn't remember even what our login was. So, we'll come back to that next time. And pretty soon that next time is we got to find something else. So I think it's really important to understand exactly what it is that the sector is going towards. And ICS is really the core of that, right? So we really feel that's an important thing for all of our team to be trained on. And ultimately that helps our customers to be better trained in that area as well.
And everybody else, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the Q&A. Would be happy to grab them when we get done with the presentation.
All right, so I'll close out of this part of it, and I'll bring up a number of things that I'd like to really demonstrate for you guys. And Todd, I'll apologize. The login that I gave you didn't necessarily have the rights to all this stuff. So some of these things you might see and say, hey, that's really neat. Why didn't you let me take a look at it this week? So I kept a few things behind the curtain on you.
Okay, it's perfect. I'm looking forward to learning more.
So, what is Disasterland? It's a web-based program accessible from anywhere. You have a tablet, you have a phone, a laptop. If you've got an internet connection and you've got a web browser on it, you've got the tools you need to run Disasterland. We're incident-based, which for us is a very loose concept. That could be an exercise. That could be something that just happened that we're responding to. This could be a planned event that we're taking a lot of time to work up, maybe driving routes and prepared sites for and documentation for. It's really whatever that binder is that we would traditionally use in at the end of the day when we close down the EOC to say, hey, here's everything that we did to work this project, and then put it on the shelf. We want to be that electronic version of that and allow that to be utilized really wherever we go. And more importantly, we want you guys to be able to secure this stuff down, because you might have maybe like a regional system where you've got lots of different communities that are utilizing the product. And you might have, one particular town that has an exercise going and another one that's got a live event going. And sometimes they need to work together. Sometimes they need to hide that stuff from each other. We give you the capabilities to run those multiple incidents and really bring in who you need, when you need them. Another major concept is we're a role-based system. We come back to ICS. You think of the classic positions in our emergency operations center and our command and control from operations, logistics, planning, etc. We come out with that out of the box. The reality is that everybody kind of has adapted ICS to fit into their own structure. So sometimes the titles change, sometimes the org chart changes, sometimes it might not even totally look like ICS, but there's positions in here that are important for us to be able to communicate with. So DLAN allows you to run multiple roles, really multiple hats. Today, you might have some staff that are coming in and it's a small operation. They're the incident commander. It's a large operation. They're now moving back to being maybe a planning section chief. It gives you the ability to take on that role, take on that hat, tell people what it is that you're doing, and ultimately communicate with those positions. And that's important because you, Todd, if I have you come and work one of our activations, I can probably pump you through with a lot of caffeine, keep you going for 48 hours, maybe even 72 hours. But at the end of it, you're eventually going to tap out and say, I need some support. When that happens, we don't want all the activities that you did to die with you. We want to be able to keep going with it and be able to take all of those operations that happen and move that into the next person who backfills for you. So it's important to keep that chain of communication going, the decisions going, everything moving forward. So that's another important concept for us. And it's, again, something you can secure down and control who's got access to those roles. The last part is really where the fun comes in. We've got modules for really everything you could think of, whether that's monitoring events that are going on, tracking resources, preparing documentation, sharing information with the public, doing mass notifications and alerts. But there's no one size that fits all for everybody. Everybody's got a different look that they need. They've got some places are very planning focused, and they do a lot of work pre-event, and during the event it's a lot of relying upon what we've pre-planned for this. Other places are very response focused. There might not be a lot of pre-planning. They're looking at what's happening to us right now and what do we need to do operationally and to move on. A lot of places come in after the event and they're really much more in the financial phase and the recovery phase, and everything's looking at, how do we, mitigate the disaster? How do we move forward from here? And when you're looking at that, that's already 3 different perspectives coming in and going out of an incident that we need to really design around. So we've come up with a concept known as a dashboard that can really be used to help you take those tools, whether it's documentation based, notification based, whatever those things are that are important to make things run for you, and let you fuse that together into boards that you can share out with staff. And what we really want to do is make it so that when you log in, you're really getting, for lack of a better term, your section in the newspaper. We want you to be able to see the things that are important to you. We want to have the things that are actionable by your role that you logged in with. And we want you to have the things that are going to let you most quickly do your job easily at your disposal versus having to learn that I've got to go to this menu and click on this button and go to this tool and you go to this for that. We want to draw everything into one board for you. So just a few examples of these boards. Here's a board that has, some tasks, things that have been sent over to this particular position. It's really, as we look at it more, this particular board is looking at resource requests and helping us to figure out where they are and where they're needed and what the priorities of those might be. And there's a lot of active elements of these boards to help us drill down in these and get down to that information. Another dashboard might look more like this, where maybe we're getting the same tasks, but I'm sharing more, situational information. Maybe it's org charts that are coming in. Maybe it's executive reports that give us summary information. Maybe it's information that's helping me, to do my job or to work through, the various media that I might have at my disposal to really help me begin to, work this incident and see what's going on. So it gives you the ability to share a lot of multimedia, be it slides, text, things of that nature, and work with it kind of like we might, a Facebook or a Twitter or social media tools that we're used to be on the clicking and working through. Other boards, might be more actionable, boards that are really designed to help tie together maybe information that's coming in. And in this case, this particular dashboard is pulling information out of, one of those, NC4 data miner type tools where we're getting intelligence and it's getting sent to me that I have to make some decisions on. So as I click on that intelligence coming from those third-party tools, it'll zoom me into the map. It can let me begin to, see exactly what's impacted from there. I can go in, maybe do an analysis run to let me see, exactly what, might be impacted with regards to things like schools or, maybe waterways and things of that nature. So it gives us the capability to fuse multiple layers of information and then match that up with the intelligence that we're receiving so we can make decisions right away, let the people that need to know, what they need to know about, with only a few clicks. So some very, very nice dashboards in that space as well. And then ultimately other ones that might be more in the space of helping you to piggyback on a meeting. So where the slide decks can be loaded in, the actions and the information can be loaded in and they can live after that meeting occurs so people can refer to it later on, or other things like, boards that help us to see what might be going on with regards to, maybe power outages or weather and other things that might be of import to us. So for us, a dashboard is really a place for us to, drag and drop the tools that we have at our disposal, either internally built or externally built, fuse them together into a place where we can begin to do something, to help us, bring that incident to a close. Any questions about any of that before I go into, some of the other things I'd like to show you?
I don't. Any of the participants, if you guys have any questions, please put them up in the Q&A or in the message center there, and we'll get to them. But right now, we don't have any questions. All
right, thank you. So one of the really cool things I'd like to highlight is really a space that incident management systems are really just beginning to touch on, which is these ArcGIS dashboards and whatnot. For years, we've managed everything in the incident management space, a lot in grids and Excel type tables of all of this data, and ultimately in the end, that data is just a long list of stuff. But when we can begin to picture it on a map, begin to picture it in charts and graphs, begin to get things like this where we're getting estimations done, automatically for us on the fly. In this case, for like damage assessments, we can now begin to do more with it. Before, we'd come to people and say, well, how many damages are there? And it would take, a lot of staff to go through and, perform the work of evaluating all the information in there. Here, we can piggyback on things that are done by some of our great partners like ESRI and Early Alert to bring in and fuse information together to help begin to look at how is weather going to impact us? How is the costs of this disaster? Is it moving us towards a declaration? Or is it, moving us in a position where we have to maybe start doing some evacuations and things of that nature? We're at the point now where there's enough information on all of these various incident management platforms out there where we can begin to do stuff with it. And one of the most visual things we can do with that stuff are dashboards like this. So with our partnership with ESRI, we've got the ability to take any information that's coming out of Disasterland and automatically create feature services out there in ArcGIS Online. We've got the ability to take in web apps that are being created by people that may or may not have anything to do with Disasterland at all, and fuse and merge that stuff into our dashboards. We've got the ability to bring third-party data in, maybe from a CAD system or a sensor network or a Mesonet or something like that, and fuse it in to help us make our decisions. So we're crossing that threshold now where data now exists more than just a place for us to electronically record what we did, and more as a place to help us begin to analyze and see exactly where the incident is moving towards, which is what I think is a really important technological development that you're seeing in this incident management space. Another thing that we pride ourselves on is having workflows around how you build documentation, whether that's working with the newest national qualification system task books that are coming out, or other tools that are being utilized. I'm just going to refresh here real quick. There's a lot of tools that are out there that allow us to build incident action plans, situation reports, that allow us to bring in information from other third parties and put a workflow around that. And that workflow might be notify this person, build a piece of documentation for them, begin to share this information, and maybe make these fillable type forms that other people can work with. It gives you the capability to really start putting on a repeatable process so that we're not running every single incident differently. So whether that's how we record the information, how we process the information, or how we report that information out to other people, giving us ways that are repeatable so that we can begin to learn from our mistakes, take the after actions, redesign any of our workflows to better match what the realities were, and be better for it in the end. So you'll see a lot in our tools with helping to build the workflow around any sorts of documentation, tasks, things of that nature that might be coming in. Another really neat aspect of the software that I'll show you as well is this concept of mobile applications and forms. At this point, we've all got more apps than we can count on our devices. And for us, our view is, take a lot of the apps that you might have out of the Survey 123s, the collectors, the Fulcrum apps, the Orion apps that are out there. We'd like to take a part of, all that stuff and help you guys fuse that information into a common platform. So we work with a lot of those providers to bring that data in. But for some people, they just don't have an app yet in those spaces either. So we provide, an application that runs on Windows and Apple and iOS, and gives you the ability to do form-based, data collection, where you can, maybe whether it's a 213 RR for a resource request, or maybe it's some sort of situation report. We can work with you to take in the types of documentation that you're used to working with, make that an electronic version of that, and then be able to share that information very easily in those dashboards and tools we have. And one of the differences that you see in this app with respect to how it works is that it's an online offline store and forward type app, where and we had a big response in Puerto Rico that really helped to highlight this. When you come into a situation where there's impacted communications, or maybe there was no network at all, it's really important to keep operations flowing and keep the information moving along. So how do you do that in that scenario? With an app like this, you can collect the information in the field, you can store it locally on your device, and you can go to a place that has Wi-Fi, have that automatically transmit the data in the background up, just the same as an email. We're all used to when we show up on off the airplane and we land and we turn off our airplane mode and our phone gets pinged with all the emails that we ignored while we were on the plane. Similar type of idea here, right? You come in with this app, you've collected a lot of data. The moment we come into Wi-Fi network, you're getting pinged with the information you missed while you were gone, and we're sending up everything that you collected while you were away as well. So it's a really nice capability that's really helping to augment a lot of the staff in the field, and ultimately allows you to create forms that match your workflow and process again and bring them into dashboards that meet your needs. So that's a real high level of a lot of little tools, and there's a lot of things we can go into with regards to situation reports. We could go into instant messaging and chat clients, but I thought this was a good high level to really give you the sense for a lot of the types of things that we do, and some of the things that people are taking advantage of in this space. Now I know you got to look with it a little bit this week. Did you have anything that really struck you as you played around with it this week?
Oh no, just the easy use, right? It's very intuitive. I mean, the little icons on the bottom really tell you exactly what they're doing and how to add data to it, or at least find the information that's inside there. The sandbox I was playing with was the middle of the country with I think it was a tornado issue that occurred, and it reported where the tornadoes were hitting down and all this other good information. I mean, it really, I put myself into that, into play, if you will. And I was like, okay, yeah, I could actually start doing work with this particular information I have, and walk in and start helping out and really recovering from the helping the community recover. Now I got a couple of things. I have a friend of mine that we'll keep him nameless right now, who uses your product, and he was really happy with working with your team, developing some of the stuff specifically for the jurisdiction where he was at, and that he said it was very easy for you guys to communicate and to build out some things for them. And on the other side of it too is they used it daily, right? It was like one of the things that everybody got in and logged into this on a daily basis, even when there was not a fast moving crisis going on. What's the advantage of using DLAN on a daily basis compared to just when the disaster occurs?
I really think that's a key component of any of these. I mean, replace DLAN with any solution that's out there. If you only turn it on once a year, and I'll not to pick on Microsoft, but I have to use Project every once in a while to manage the things that I do every day. Most of the time I'm lazy and I use, something like Google Sheets, and that's how I manage my project. And when I have to go back and use, Microsoft Project, I just shake my head and say, I know I knew how to do this. I've forgotten how to do this. Well, it's not any different with incident management tools, right? If you go and you're using it for your exercise once a year, and then that activation when it actually happens, the learning curve, even with an easy to use product like this, is very steep. All of a sudden you're like, I forgot what I'm supposed to do. Where's the website? What's my username? What am I supposed to do when I get in here? What are the tools I'm supposed to use? So if you use any product in any part of your job and it only fills that role on the very occasional nature, we can already tell you what that response is going to look like in the end. It's not going to be very good. So you need to find ways to use it every day. So we've got customers that are very good with their duty officer programs. They're in it every day and they're getting alerts on various things that they're looking at. We've got places that use it for active ongoing projects. It might be a planning project they're using and they do all their documentation in here, or are building all their plans in here. Some are logging into it for weather and situational awareness. We've got customers that do a lot of big sporting events at various levels, and they're logging into it every single time that they have an event to begin to get that analysis and get the information. But more importantly, they're getting that familiarity with how do I log in and how do I use these things, and whether it's incident action plans or situation reports or even just dashboards and task boards. I think it behooves people to find ways to bring the tools in, and we've got a lot of nice capabilities to help you fuse in those pre-event or those daily type event into your workflow.
You mentioned earlier that you support the Super Bowl with the NFL with DLAN, and I actually got to speak to a couple of people who used it during the last Super Bowl in Inglewood. How do you integrate with that big of an organization on such a high profile day?
That's a good question. Not all events and teams are created equal, and not everyone has the same level of operations that they need to support. And the Super Bowl is one of those things that most places just don't do every single day. So you end up with a lot of different groups that all have different priorities, different information needs, and you can be overwhelmed pretty quickly, from who's ever the lead as to, how do we get our hands around this thing. So for something as big as the Super Bowl, it's important to meet early on, try to figure out what those needs are. Try to stay simple, build dashboards and forms and workflows that don't involve a whole lot of training, because ultimately the people that are coming in and out of something like the Super Bowl, which is really a multi-day, 10 to 14 day event, but they're changing out every single day as different people are flying in and out. You need to make it simple for them. And you need to have those conversations going, along the way with those various team members. And if you're able to do that, and you can put yourself in the middle of it, you set yourself up for a lot of success. And what we've found is, really the earlier the better on those types of discussions.
Now, with something like the Super Bowl, where there's definitely a ramp up, right? And I know, the SoFi Super Bowl, talking to a lot of people who started from, a year out, right? Like actually right after, the Super Bowl ended the year before they started. And then I'm talking to some people who are planning the one for this year. And they started like right after the other Super Bowl. When do you get involved with something like that? Whether it's the large event, we'll just keep using Super Bowl since this is what we're talking about. When do you get involved? When does DLAN really kind of help and ramp that up?
Hopefully very early on. Not that, we need to do a lot of building and development, because it doesn't take a whole lot of time to build the forms and boards. In fact, we could, build a new board out of the information that we have in a few minutes in here, in a new form, maybe in an hour or so. But it's really building those relationships early, building that trust early. So for us, when we got brought in by our partners that ran the Super Bowl out of Inglewood, they called us in August, and got us in on their regular cadence meetings with the various players, and they did a tremendous amount of work in a very short amount of time to find out what those needs of those groups were, and to have us there alongside them. And a lot of the building of what we needed to build didn't actually happen until November and December, but it was those relationships and those meetings early on that developed that trust, that people would see that we were a partner with Inglewood, that Inglewood was a partner with them, that they had their best interests at heart, that they were going to secure their data down and share it in such a way that they would trust. And I really think that that early into the process really made it so that was a very, very successful event for them.
Now, just going on the same lines of incident management software, obviously through the years things have changed, right? And I mean, I've been doing this long enough to I remember like the big thing was to be able to have like a PowerPoint presentation up on the board when we're doing our reports. Now to the fact of there's instant management software like you have today, which is multifaceted. You have all different types of reports you can pull out of it. Why is it important for an organization, whether it's a government organization or a large private company, to invest in incident management software? Why is this now the standard that we have to go to?
It's another great question, especially in the space that we're in. And we saw this a lot with COVID and whatnot. We all fell back to using what was quick and cheap and easy, the Teams solutions, the Zooms, the Slacks and whatnot. And those became, really necessary tools to help us manage, COVID with everybody remote. What got lost with a lot of that, and it's not to knock the tools that are out there, but it was you're really building workflows around things. Sure, those are great data collection tools, but I could start a chat with anybody at any time, and where that information went after that, there was no way to process that, to make sure that it was going through the organizational command structure that might be in place. It was a lot more ad hoc communications. So people are reaching for each other left and right. Meetings are being launched left and right, and after all those people are gone, we don't have any great way to look up the records of what they did, or even as they went shift to shift, who had made what decisions and where that stuff was going. So while a great enabling platform was there and those quick and easy tools, it lost the structure that these electronic incident management platforms provide. That repeatable structure that is both supported by a vendor. It's not something I built on my own. And when Tim Masterson leaves company X, no one knows how to build that or work with that board anymore. It's a company behind that. And I firmly believe that the incident management platforms, really the best in this space, the DLANs, the WebEOCs, the VOCs, just to name a bunch in this space, they really provide something that goes above and beyond, just those freemium type tools, where those ad hoc communications really don't allow us to put that structure and order around the things that we want to do.
Yeah, and sometimes those free platforms end up costing you a lot of money because of time and effort that goes into developing them, and they're still clunky. That's the one thing that really frustrates me as an end user, is when you're looking at something that becomes a chore to use, becomes clunky for lack of a better term, and then your team doesn't want to use it because it's difficult, and then you're looking at this board on the wall during an event, and there's no information in there, and you turn around to the team going, "Hey, where's the information?" Like, "Oh, I got a whole report for you. I just couldn't figure out how to put it up onto the board." What makes using DLAN so much easier? I mean, like, why does it seem to be so much intuitive?
I think because it's so adaptable. You don't have to go through our engineering team to build out the forms in the dashboard. So if something's not working for you, simplify it. If I have a better source of data, integrate with it. Like if we're already getting stuff out of a CAD system, the last thing I want to do is make somebody turn around and have to re-enter that, because then, just like you said, that board's never going to get filled. If we've got a form that takes, 15 minutes to fill out just to do a simple resource request, well, I'm just going to call somebody to get that in because that takes too much time. The software is very, very quick to adapt to change. And taking the lessons learned, just like what you said, and we've been in that position before where somebody says this board took way too long to fill in, so we didn't use it. The response should be, well, what's taking so long? What is it that people are requiring you to do that it's taking you too long to fill in information? Is there a better way to do that? And sometimes it's as simple as somebody made a whole bunch of fields required, and you didn't have the information to fill out the required field, so you either put in gibberish or you said this takes too long. So having those discussions, I think, is number one. And then number two, having a tool that's easily adaptable by the end user to make those changes, so you can now advance to a position where you are getting that useful information into your boards.
What about just-in-time training? You bring somebody into your organization, if you're using, say, this incident management software, you sit them down in front of a computer and you slap them on the back and let them go, or is there something that you can like log into pretty quickly to just kind of get your feels for it?
So we do that a lot of different ways. You'll see these help buttons throughout the system that will, at any time, you can click on and give you context sensitive help to the stuff that you're looking at. There'll also be a lot of tutorials and videos to help you, search and find that stuff. And we're always putting up, brand new, videos and how-to guides and things that people can utilize in that space. But ultimately, these types of videos and things that we're doing in here are, about DLAN in general, right? So our recommendation, and it's part of our rollout package for our customers, is to customize this to whatever it is that you, as whatever the named organization is. So for instance, we keep coming back to the Super Bowl. as we worked with our partners in Inglewood, we worked with them to build, call them cheat sheets. Here's the 1 or 2 page thing for, what you need to do to do this job, or how you, maybe do your situation report, or how you, log into the system. And we did the same thing, little mini, 30-second videos to help guide people in that way. And we've got great training courses to help our customers to produce those, or we can do that as a service for people. And that just-in-time training really goes a long way. The second thing is designing dashboards that are simple. If you don't have to know where you have to navigate to do stuff, and you got a big button that says make your resource request here, that takes a lot of the training and, makes it self-evident just right by the board. So the combination of, that hand holding to help them build up, that cadre of online, resources to help their users, and, working with them to build easily accessible boards really goes a long way in that just-in-time training space.
So in other words, it's help for people like me that sometimes can't find the any key on the.
Well, for you, we put somebody in front of your computer and we do all the tapping for you. That would be how we would best help you, Todd.
I appreciate that, but I mean, I love the fact that, we have this software like this, and we still have people, and this is, kind of going back into baby boomer generation still in the EOC, all the way up to the Gen Zs that are, native to technology. But it seems like this board, the way that, DLAN is really intuitive even to somebody, who's not native to software. Is that by design, or is this just by practical application that you just found through trial and error?
It's by design, and it's by a lot of hard work in that design. And we talked about that our staff are required to be a part of activations. Well, part of that is because it's one thing for an engineer to say, just go click this button to make this page work. And then when they go to an activation, they realize they have to click that button 5,000 times, and then they shake their head and say, this is horrible. There's got to be a better way. So we make them go out and learn about this stuff, which then brings back that information on how to streamline it, make it faster, make it better. Because the less clicks, the less scary it is. The more things you got to answer, the question of, do you really want to save, or things of that nature, the more scary it is. So we ultimately want this stuff to be, really easy and streamlined. And it's with a lot of hard work by a lot of people on the team to make that happen. But ultimately, it's with their experience in the field that helps them to get there.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of push to one-click software solutions, and it seems like that, I don't know if we're there yet on everything, but it seems like it's that way for a lot of things. When it comes down to the dashboard, and I know you said you've been working with Esri on the dashboards, and I think that's really great. How how can you manipulate them, all right, the dashboards, as an end user compared to having to call Esri or you to make them change?
So it really depends on what their administrators allow them to do. Ultimately, the DLAN admins themselves can draw up the dashboards, and I'll show you in a moment how to do that. And they can craft their own for other people to use. But for some of the basic users, they might not want to allow them to get in all the tools, or they might not want to provide that level of training. So for them, they might just provide different reports where we've got these different views that can be utilized, where they can go right down to other types of things that have been pre-saved for people, different views into the software, whether that's a map, or whether that's when they're on maybe a tool that's helping them to track various requests and intelligence coming in, allowing them to very quickly switch that view of what they're looking for within the dashboards, so that they can give them the capability to kind of just in time change out these boards to show and present the various things that they might need to see. So if they maybe wanted to switch to a slideshow or something like that, they could do a lot of that stuff without necessarily needing a lot of training to swap out to a different view or a different map. So it gives them the capability to change out panels on either side to show different data very, very, very quickly and intuitively. But ultimately, when it comes down to the drawing out on the admin side, admins can come in and with just a couple clicks, really design out a new board. It really is as simple as drag and drop, panels and say, I want to display this and display it this way. And it makes it really, really easy. And we won't do the full demo of it, but as I'm talking, I'm just kind of doing that.
That's great, because I think that's one of the things that I love about what you guys are doing, that it's so customizable, and you can customize it also on the fly. I know I talked to, Keith over at Inglewood, and he talked about the fact that that's what he loved about it, is how customizable it was. You know, when it gets into it, at the end of the day, incident management software is really something that's critical to be in an emergency operations center, or in a fusion center or an intelligence center, whatever you're using it for. You need to have something that's managing stuff in one location. And I know that what you guys are doing is great. I got to kick the tires a little bit before. I've talked to many people who are using DLAN in the past, and some of them have moved to other organizations and plan on bringing you over with them. And that says a lot about your organization, that people who leave an organization that have been using you, and now when they go to their new place, it's important for them to bring you with them. So I guess my question is like, how do you build those and like anything else, right? It's about relationships. How do you build that relation with your customers? Because it seems like everybody who's been working with you wants to stay working with you. And how do you guys do that? Give that little tip to everybody out there.
I think the secret sauce is you just have to be open to new ideas. I think one of the things that differentiates us from maybe some of the other players in this space is that we're very open to changing our software. I'd be the first one to admit that, what I crafted on Disasterland and worked with on the team, 20 years ago with someone, and we've got customers that have gone as long as 20 years. Their version of DLAN, then to what it is now is night and day different. And it's really because of things that they told us that we adapted in our software to work better for them. Because if they're running into problems, then other people are too. I think the other really big difference too is we use our own software every single day. I'm not just building a tool that we send out to everybody else and hear the pain points and fix some of them. Our engineers literally use it every day. They use Disasterland to manage, Disasterland, as our customers give us new requests and features and information that we need to share with other people. They're required to use our platform to do all of that. So we track, all those items internally. If it's slow and not working for our engineers, they're some of the first people to complain and go and fix it and change it. So I think that's really the biggest part, is people want to be heard and they want to see with action that you're hearing them. But that's the biggest part, that customer relationship and sitting down with them to find out what their needs are and work that into whatever your solutions are. That makes a big difference.
I'm going to ask you to put on your future cap here of being able to get your crystal ball out to see the future. What do you see the future of incident management software looking like, in say the next 5 to 10 years? What do you think it can do that it doesn't do today?
That's a really good question. We've obviously got a lot of stuff that we've got on the drawing boards for us. I think some of the things that we're hearing is resource tracking and resource management is a very difficult thing for anybody other than the military or really large organizations to do, where you've got the staff and the orders to say you must scan these things in, you must scan these things out. So I think that's a space that really needs a lot of innovation. And we've got certainly some plans, and our customers have some things that they'd like to see there to help them better track what it is that they have in stock, what it is that they've deployed, what are they on the hook for with regards to financial costs. So I can see a lot of things happening there. As you've mentioned and I've mentioned, we have a lot of customers that have been going on, for plus 20 years with us. Those customers have a ton of data. And it's certainly not the same people in those positions 20 years later. In fact, in many cases, it's turned over 4 or 5 times. So how do you keep the institutional knowledge of this is what traditionally happens? We had a customer say, hey, I'd love if it predicted for me, where the fires are going to be. And while that's probably not possible, we can certainly look at the trends, that have been in their software for all this time, where these things have happened and what types of communities were impacted and how many homes were impacted, and begin to build those trends so that, we can take all this stuff that's been in our IMS platforms now for all this time and begin to help make, plan decisions, moving forward for where we might want to pre-position resources or what mitigation projects we don't want to do to help us, strengthen those communities and make them more resilient. I think there's a lot of information that's comes into these platforms that you're going to see in the next, 5 to 10 years really become very actionable in helping people make future decisions on, how do we best move forward during an incident.
With that trends, and this got me thinking when you said that, is the possibility of taking a look at where, say, for instance, for earthquake right here in California, what's one of the things that we're concerned about, where we can stage equipment and people, prior to an event occurring where things seem to be safer than others. Can you guys like sort of do that with that data of like where fault lines are and things like this?
Yep, it's beginning to move in that space. Now, some of the stuff is more difficult, right? Predict where we're going to have a flood or a landslide or where the wildfires are going to be, so we don't put this warehouse in a place that's very dangerous. We do a lot of work with Esri to help look at trends and stuff from them. But the actual prediction, a lot of that stuff involves models that, are just starting to be developed. There's great models out there for hurricanes. There's becoming, better models for, wind speed and some weather. But some of these other ones are areas that still need a lot of research in order to help make those predictions. So I think we're just one piece of that equation, that data that you built up over time. And if you're buying a new system, you might not have that data. Or you might need to find it somewhere else. But I think a lot of it's going to come down to, working with our partners in education, our partners in the sciences and in government, to start, helping to build models and helping to build tools that help us make those predictions so we can be safe. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done, for that. Certainly, we can help, but we're not the only piece that can help there. So.
Yeah, I know. I love looking at the predictive analysis and AI and the things that can happen today, and it just amazes me of that. And to put that in perspective, though, it's just a tool, right? And it's another tool that you'd use for helping you make decisions. But if it's something that you could pull up pretty quickly and say, "Yep, this is what we see," I'm going to tell a little story about COVID that we all here probably listen to this understand is. When the politicians got on and were saying, "Oh, no one could have predicted, an event like this," I had to laugh. I'm like, "Oh no, we did. That's why we had pandemic flu plans and these things." But I'm putting that information in a system like this, and to be able to share that with the decision makers, say, "No, we actually have these predictions and ideas and concepts of what happens." If everybody could just read them, we'd be much in a better space. And they have it one location and very shareable, and put it in the presentation mode where people can really digest some wonky information, because not all of us, like myself, live in the wonky world.
Well, I think you point to something that, we've all been kind of guilty of, right? We do those exercises, we do the after actions and the hot washes and put a nice big package together for what we learned. And then where does a lot of that stuff end up? It ends up on the shelf, right?
Mhm.
If we don't take that next step to then take that stuff and make it actionable with, new models or new checklists and new reports of how we do stuff and, better ways of looking at stuff, well, then it was really an exercise for the benefit of the people that were there for that exercise. And in 2 or 3 years, when those aren't the people for the next space, they don't get to take advantage of any of the work we did before. So we really need to do more work at getting that information out of, that book or paper, or even if it's just the zip file, dating myself there, PDF file of all the reports that you had from an incident. And get it out of just that single file and more into more of a global view of that information, so we can train the people moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the point, by keeping it into a location like DLAN here, where somebody can log in, look at the information, just search really quickly, past operations, and take a look at the entire thing. I think that's the exciting part about it. Like I said, when I was able to take a look at the back end that you let me see with Kansas and the tornadoes and stuff, the storms that were going through there, quote unquote, obviously fake stuff. It was, I was able to get up to speed pretty quickly and say, okay, now I can start making decisions based on the
Yep.
information that's in front of me, and that was just 30 minutes of me kicking the tires of this thing.
And sometimes it's just as simple as having a conversation. The GIS department, let's say you run a flood exercise and they build a whole bunch of models and maps and spend a lot of time with that. If all that existed was for a paper map to run your exercise, you kind of missed an opportunity there. And if you talk to them after the fact to say, hey, how could we make that something that we could bring up in our next flood event and something we could look at? You can take that next step, right? So looking beyond the exercise to how could we make those things that we produced for that actionable for the future, that can go a long way to helping for those future operations, just in that simple conversation.
Tim, we're coming here close to the end of our hour. How can people find you and really be able to get a sample of what you're playing with here today?
So for anybody that's interested in our products, you can go to bcgeng.com or just search for Buffalo Computer Graphics. We're the makers of Disasterland. Certainly if you go in for a search for incident management products and you search for Disasterland, you're going to find us there as well. So Disasterland is our core product that most people know us by. We white label, so you'll find its name kind of varies throughout the country in different places as other people kind of make it their own. But DLAN, Disasterland, you can search for us there. Certainly you can reach us directly through our website with request links there, as well as I'll put up in the chat my email address in just a moment here.
Absolutely, and you can always find it too on the Todd DeVoe Show and the Emergency Management Network, where we have links to Disasterland as well. So if you're searching that way, if you guys are subscribers, you can always find them there. But as I'm gonna let you close out, and just a simple question here for you, Tim. What is your goal, man? What is your goal right now for DLAN and for emergency management and the relationships that you're building?
For us, we really want to form partnerships with our customers. I truly enjoy getting out and seeing the different parts of the places where we have our software. So I really enjoy building those relationships. I'd really love to see Disasterland grow more and more into a daily tool. And it's all in there. It's finding those reasons internally for customers to make that leap, to go beyond just using email and Slack and chat. So I'd really love to see, whether you're using DLAN or again any of the other big major players in this space, find a way to make it a daily tool for you. And I think as we do that, we're going to see a lot of things happen, a lot of good things with regards to how we communicate, how we're trained, and how we're better prepared for incidents, because we won't be trying to figure out all these cool tools when the heat's up and the disaster strikes. So
okay, one last question. I think this is the most important question of the day. What's the score of this weekend's game?
I firmly believe that Josh Allen is going to come through in the end, and I'm going to go with 24-7 Bills, and go Bills.
Go Bills. Outstanding. Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Everybody else, always thank you for being here. And please check out DLAN. Check them out. Go play with it. Talk to the team. See what you could do, because I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised once you get inside there and get to kick the tires, if you will, and see what's going on. And so, everybody, until next time, it's been a pleasure, and take care. Be safe. Stay hydrated.
Thanks a lot, Todd.